Could you be the jerk who refuses to change your daughter's name? We'll get to that shortly. But first, am I the jerk for not taking care of my sister's dog while she was in labor? I am a 21-year-old female, and my older sister, a 25-year-old female, and I have always been close. But we have a tendency to clash because she is a perfectionist who becomes hostile when things do not go away. One night, she called to say she was going into labor and asked me to watch her puppy. I agreed, and she gave me detailed instructions, including putting the dog in a safety harness before taking him outside. Later, I let the dog out and brought him back in, but I hadn't completely removed his harness when he dashed into the living room, where my mother was on FaceTime with my sister's boyfriend. I finished removing the harness, but minutes later, I received angry texts from my sister accusing me of mistreating her dog because she remained in the harness for a few more minutes. Her boyfriend had seen it during the FaceTime call and informed her. She then called, yelling at me for being lazy and unreliable, and told me and my mother to leave her house right away. She even said we couldn't meet the baby until we regained her trust at 2 a.m. We laughed, and when her boyfriend arrived, I asked him what was going on. He simply brushed me off, saying, "We're having a child." You do not get an explanation. I spent the night comforting my mother, who was distraught because she might not see her grandchild. The following day, my sister called to apologize, blaming her reaction on stress and hormones. She invited us to meet the baby, so we went. The visit went well, but she later asked why I seemed so quiet. I told her calmly that I was hurt after being kicked out, insulted, and threatened. I explained that the situation left a lasting negative impression on everyone. Her boyfriend missed some moments at the hospital. My mother was devastated, and her in-laws are probably thinking we can't help her. I simply wanted her to acknowledge my feelings. Instead, she became defensive, saying she stood by everything she said and that I was disgusting for attempting to cast a cloud over her baby's birth. She then asked me to leave, and I did. We haven't spoken since, and while I understand she is under a lot of stress, I'm left wondering if I'm wrong to want my feelings acknowledged. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was all a result of stress and hormones. I mean, it's a stressful time for her, but it's true that OP did something that almost any average person would do. Sometimes when the dog runs away, it takes a few extra minutes to get the harness off of them. At least according to the OP, they weren't out here mistreating the dog, so they were wrongfully accused and mistreated, and the OP deserves an apology in my opinion. Not again, 2034 commented, not the jerk. Don't let her set a precedent in which she gets to use you as a punching bag while you pretend it's fine for reasons. It quote as absolutely not acceptable. I don't believe that having a child gives you permission to be a jerk without consequences. If momentary stress causes an unfortunate outburst, there is a solution for that. If you do not receive a sincere apology and assurance that it will not happen again, please contact us. I would keep my distance if I were you. It's easy to predict what you'll face if she gets away with this behavior. Ambitious AD 560 was added to piggyback on this. If OP persists in being chastised for not properly monitoring the puppy, consider what happens if OP's sister drops the baby. And OP blinks her eyes excessively in front of the baby. Hello, my name is Steven, and if you enjoy deciding whether or not all of these people are jerks, do you want to hit them? Click the like and subscribe buttons below. That being said, am I a jerk for telling my sisters to take care of their own freaking children? I am a 24-year-old male, the youngest of 3 children. Sarah, my 28-year-old sister, and Liv, my 26-year-old sister, are my older sisters. Sarah and Liv were BFFs growing up, always together and sharing everything. My sisters embodied the entire TV trope of close sisters. The other aspect that was very TV-like was their anti-bullying rhetoric, specifically anti-brother. They never liked me being around them, and they'd always say I was embarrassing to them, that I was gross, even though I wasn't dirty, that they preferred sisters over brothers, and that boys weren't allowed to play whatever games they were playing. It hurt my feelings as a child, and they were punished for being cruel on occasion. Not all the time, but it happened a few times, and I know our parents became concerned enough to try therapy, both individually and as a family. During family therapy, my sisters loudly declared that they would never love me or want a brother. They said boys are disgusting and no one wants them. And they wanted someone to come and take me away forever, so they wouldn't have to see me anymore. My parents made a concerted effort to provide me with an outside perspective so that the events with my sisters would not destroy me. It was not always perfect. I wished my sisters cared more when I was younger, but I had friends, hobbies, activities, and other distractions. And my parents continued to work on my sister's treatment of me because it extended beyond simply not being close. Their attitude towards me did not change. When Sarah married and Sarah and Liv began having children, I was firmly against starting a family. I was not included or invited to anything, including meeting their children when they were born. I was not sent any announcements. My parents and other relatives received those. I'm not even one of their social media friends or followers. They both have accounts that require permission to follow. I'm completely over them by now. I know nothing will change, and to be honest, I don't want to, and I freak out about not holding children's actions against them because they haven't been kids in years. Now that they have older children, both sisters want to work. They attempted to share a nanny and babysitter, but I'm guessing they got tired of paying for both on separate occasions. So they asked me to be a babysitter. They said I should help take care of their children because I'm supposed to be family or something. I asked if they were serious, then rolled my eyes at them hard. They said I had a bad attitude. I told them they could care for their own freaking children and wouldn't use me after 24 years of wanting my existence to end. They accused me of being as bad as them for reacting in the manner that I did. Am I a jerk? I'd like to know from the people in the comments whether or not it appears that this should be the thing OP overlooks in order to have a relationship with their nieces and nephews, or if the siblings, aka the parents' behaviors, both in childhood and now, are more than enough to simply overlook that entire lineage, as in, is that family? And that next generation of your family worth it, if it means having to associate with your siblings who treated you like that back home? Finch commented. Not that jerk. They made it clear that they did not want you in their family and went out of their way to exclude you, even as adults. You owe them nothing. They are essentially strangers to you who happen to be related to your family, and accusing you of being as bad as them is ridiculous. They received their wish. No, brother, they should deal with it. Is it wrong of me to tell my wife not to be that mom? My 44-year-old male son, who is 14 years old, plays football. My wife picks him up from practice Monday through Thursday. So, last Thursday, my wife arrived early and sat on the bench while they practiced. My son must have been doing something wrong because the coach told him to stop being a little bench and tackle him. My wife was offended by that and wanted to text the coach about it. I was like, don't do that. My son didn't care, and that's how coaches communicate with their players. It's not a huge deal. My wife said something I don't like. Your point is, as I just mentioned, it's week 5 of football. Do not be that parent. She took offense, referring to me indirectly as you-know-what or whatever. Fortunately, she has yet to say anything to the coach. But am I a jerk because of what I said? My wife definitely thought I was, and it's still somewhat of an argument. So, I believe the problem here is, and I'm curious if you agree, that there is still the jerk because they didn't consider why the wife is feeling the way she does. They are simply saying, don't make a fuss, don't bring it up. That is just something the coach does on occasion. Do not be that parent. But doing so and saying that completely ignores all of her feelings and thoughts on the subject, right? So, was she able to explain why she feels that way? Beth Sophia commented, "You're a jerk." Misogynistic language will offend many women because it is offensive, and it is completely inappropriate for anyone to tell a 14-year-old coach that he needs to clean up his potty mouth. Being the parent who teaches their child that these things are not acceptable is a positive thing. Our next story is about whether I'm a jerk for telling my wife she can either sleep with the cat locked in or get rid of them. My wife rescued a cat about a year ago. He is the most annoying creature on the planet. He screams for attention 24 times out of 7. He does not allow us to do anything without his approval. I haven't slept soundly since we got him. He wailed all night. He has cost us thousands of dollars in vet bills and behaviorist fees while we try to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it. Ultimately, he's an orange cat, and they're known to be jerks. He's healthy, and all of his needs are met. He receives better treatment than most cats. I am at my wit's end. He craves wet food 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and will scream all night until someone gives in and feeds him. He has kept me awake for hours. If he isn't screaming, he's scratching the wall or door. He just stands there, scraping his feet against the wall and looking into my soul. I was a single father to my son for the first 7 years of his life. And let me tell you, working 14-hour days and returning home to a colicky newborn was easier than whatever freaking torture methods this cat has been trained in. I want to get rid of the cat. My wife understands how difficult he is and doesn't believe he will be adopted, so she does not want to give him up. At this point, I don't care. I told her that she could either move into the garage with him at night and deal with him alone, or we could get rid of him. But I refused to suffer any longer because this fat orange cat cannot go an hour without a meal. My wife is quite upset. We took on the responsibility of owning a cat together. We should continue to look for solutions together. She shouldn't have to suffer alone because she doesn't want him to end up on a youth list. I don't care. I'm exhausted. My kids think I'm evil, but they also refuse to help with the cat, so I'm not really listening to them. When my son heard about my dilemma, he asked me to post it here. Why not? I'm open to hearing any and all judgments. Let me just say that I am an avid pet lover. I'm a cat lover. I'm a dog lover. Hearing this story and picturing myself in that situation breaks my heart, because I'm not sure if I'd have the heart to actually get rid of the cat. I feel like I'd be in the same situation as the wife, knowing that if I give up that fat orange cat who constantly demands food, where are they most likely to end up on the euthanasia list? In a way, you feel like you're condemning them to death. At the same time, I completely understand Hope, because you cannot live your life that way. And based on what the OP said, they have tried to fix it. It appears that a breaking point will occur soon, either way. I know if it were up to me, I'd be holding out hope that something could be worked out. Euphoric Travel. 2541 commented, "Not that jerk. You're at your wit's end, and it's obvious that something needs to change. But, before you accept euthanasia for this orange oligarch, think about an intermediate solution. Perhaps a small area with water, food, in the garage. Be kind to him and feed him well during the day, and put him in the garage with some provisions at night, away from you and the children. Get him in the morning. Treat him well, but emphasize that this is a permanent schedule. He'll complain. Your wife and children will complain, but you deserve to have peace and a full night's sleep, and it is not cruel to the cat." Our next story is about whether I'm a jerk for telling my friend that I'm sorry your parents don't love her as much as mine do. Have a friend named Amy, who is also 22 and whom I met in college. We're currently in our final semester of college. I live alone, but she shares an apartment with 2 others. But I know both of our parents are currently paying our rent. The problem started when we discussed our future plans. I told her that I was probably going to get a job and pursue my master's degree money, while also having my own money to spend on things I enjoy and travel. She laughed at me and asked what kind of salary I expected while working part-time to be able to afford expenses to cover. It's just food. And asked about rent and other expenses, to which I replied that my parents would cover them. She then went on to rant about becoming an adult, how she can't wait to be independent, how she doesn't want to borrow money from her parents, and so on. For the most part, I tried to nod and listen to her, but then she said something like, "You." And that made me very embarrassed. They can easily afford it, and I'm not the type to be ungrateful. I spent a long time with them. I know they have plenty of money for everything. They travel with their house and have a solid for me, and I don't mind accepting it. We have a good relationship. I know this won't last forever, and I don't expect it to be just a few years before I finish my degree and get a better job. I got annoyed and told her to stop it. We could talk about something else, but she kept going on about how her parents want her to be a real adult, how I'll never want to be ambitious unless I struggle, and other nonsense. I'm not sure how important it is, but my grades are significantly higher than hers, and I am a few exams ahead of her in terms of passing the semester. I just cut her off and replied, I'm not sure. Perhaps my parents love me more than you do. Love you. So they want to pay. I apologize for that. Can we now discuss something else? We haven't talked since. And I feel bad because I understand that love has nothing to do with money. And, looking back, it was a very rude thing to say. But I was just trying to shut her up because she was insulting me and calling me spoiled for no reason. I wasn't even the one to initiate this conversation. Nor did I inquire about her finances. She was the one who kept things going. Since that day, I've had a pit in my stomach and I didn't want to offend her. Info, edit. I'm just adding some information that I believe may be relevant. Amy's intention did not seem genuine to me because she now accepts her parents paying rent, food, utilities, and everything else just as I do. The conversation centered on life after college. I mentioned my academic success because she said I would never be ambitious even if I tried really hard. We also do not live in the United States, and parental support is not uncommon. Finally, while this may not be convincing, I sincerely appreciate everything my parents do for me. I have no intention of leeching on them, and they are aware of this, which is what is important to me. I believe there is fault on both sides. I believe that what Opie said was inappropriate, as was what their friend said. I believe it is equally possible for someone to rely on parental support as it is for another to thrive. I just don't think Opie's desire to shut them up excuses what he said to their friend. In 1962, Michael commented, "Everyone sucks here." You are definitely a jerk for saying such a thing. Money does not equal love. Ever. That being said, she was a jerk for not dropping the subject sooner and for attempting to make you feel as if you were exploiting your parents. You both have loving parents. They may not have the same amount of money, but they may have different perspectives on the best ways to support your careers and lives. In this case, because you have higher grades, you may be a better candidate for a master's program, making continuing to support you a worthwhile investment. She may want to further her education, but her parents have decided not to support her past. She earned a bachelor's degree. That doesn't mean they don't love her as much. They may have limited funds. No, she has roommates to reduce expenses, or they may rightly believe she's not a good candidate for an advanced degree. But you have to see that she is trying to reconcile her situation and yours without thinking her parents don't love her. Certainly, there are students who want to stay in college at their parents' expense for as long as possible and avoid having to take care of themselves financially. I don't think that applies to either of you. Our next story is, Am I the jerk for not defending my friend when my fiancé was mean to her? A 26-year-old male have been engaged to my fiancé, IRA, 26-year-old female, for 6 months now. We were friends in high school and only started dating when we were around 2. We were close in high school. We were in the same friend group but drifted apart and reconnected in uni, so it's safe to say I do know her really well. She's a kind person most of the time. However, she knows how to cut deep when the situation warrants it. I witnessed it at times, and she can make people cry. So one of my friend groups mostly consists of gamers. I don't hang out with them in person that much because I'm not very social and prefer spending time with my fiancé. Even during calls, I'm mostly muted or don't talk, but I do enjoy their company. I guess I'm just shy. My friends know I have a fiancé, and they invited her out with us last night. There are girls in our friend group, like 2 of them, and this other girl in our group who can be a bit of a pick-me girl. I'll call her Emma. She gets along well with the rest of us, but sometimes she can be a bit annoying. So last night we all went out to dinner, and the 2 other girls and my girl were getting along really well. They really hit it off until Emma joined us later in the evening. She started making passive-aggressive backhanded comments to IRA, who initially just rolled her eyes and laughed. But I told Emma to stop because I didn't want the night to end with someone crying. She took this as a joke, but stopped messing with his IRA for a while. And then she started up again. I think she was trying to make my fiancé insecure or jealous or something, but Emma kept seeing how close we are because we game. Zara knows I'm not close with her because every time I play with them, she's either in my lap or right next to me watching me play. Emma told Zara not to worry about her because she wasn't going to take me away from her. Zara smiled at her, and I knew the night was over. She looked Emma up and down and said, "You take him from me. Good luck." Emma tried defending herself and brushing it off as a joke, but Zara just kind of let loose, I guess. She called them a pathetic excuse of a woman and asked if she needs male validation that desperately, or if she's actually deluded enough to think that she, Emma, is more important than her Zaira in my life, among other things. I am not going to lie. I do think it's kind of hot when she gets like this, so I just sat by and watched, and Emma started crying, and we left after she said thank you to the rest of my friends. The girls in my group have been messaging me and saying that I should have stopped Zara and maybe not have let her be so rude. And Emma's gone radio silent. My other friends think Zara is justified, and I do too. But did she take it too far? And should I have stopped her? Am I a jerk? Hi. So I have no idea how to write an update, so I'm just going to write it here and hopefully people will read it. I want to thank everyone who told me I wasn't a jerk, and neither was Zaira. I knew we weren't wrong. I just wanted an unbiased opinion. A lot of people seem to think that Zaira is a horrible woman who kicks puppies or something. I said that she can make people cry, and everyone just assumed she just regularly goes out and makes people cry. She's made like 3 people cry, 4 if you count Emma, but I'm 100% certain those were crocodile tears. Also, my other friends in the group have decided they want some space from Emma and the other girls. A lot of people said Zara is trying to isolate me when it's in fact the opposite. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even have these friends because I frankly have no interest in making a lot of friends. I also said that I think Zara is hard when she gets assertive and stands up for herself, and so many people were acting like I said something so gross and disgusting, which was weird. Like, I'm sorry, I think my fiancé is hot. Do you want me to hate her or something? Under the update, we spent the morning reading the comments. It's her day off, and Zara thinks you're all kind and funny. I've decided I'm just going to put some distance between myself and the girls. I have other friends, so I'll be fine, plus comma, we're getting married in November, so I have better things to worry about and look forward to. I actually cannot wait. These 2 months are taking forever. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Emma was kind of asking for it in this situation. They're saying, "Oh, don't worry, you won't take them from me." It's not even like Zara specifically pointed anything out. That they never said like, "Oh, you're ugly" or something like that. It wasn't even necessarily implying in that direction either. They're just saying like, "You think you're more important to him than me? You think you're going to steal him from me? Good luck." Okay? Hovercraft 4450. You judged it as needs. More info. Do you have other examples of her mean streak making people cry? The example you list doesn't really count as. And I kind of brought it on herself. However, generally speaking, any person with a mean streak, it can make other people cry. He is a walking, talking red flag that nobody should be seriously dating. The classic example is, how does she treat waitresses when you eat out? If she's ever been slightly rude to them, game over. But it's not limited to waitresses. Anybody who's the target of her bullying could indicate a red flag. It's just that if you discover someone is mean like this, probably the first indication will be an interaction with some kind of service worker, like a waitress. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to help out with my dad's new wife's kids? Like I help with my siblings? My dad got married 4 months ago, and his new wife has 3 kids, 7, 5, and 4. Dad has me, a 16-year-old male, and my siblings, 13-year-old female, 11-year-old female, and 9-year-old male. Our mother died 5 years ago. I'm not sure about the other kids' dads. They have nothing to do with their fathers. My relationship with my father has been strained for years. I made a plan last year to get out as soon as I turn 18. I do not want a relationship with my father. I don't want to fix anything or make the most of things right now. I simply want to keep my eyes on the prize. But I help my siblings when they need it. Sometimes it's just walking them to school. If you don't have a car, you can occasionally buy them a small gift. Sometimes it's assisting with homework, getting them food, or picking them up from a location. However, this is not always the case. If they want to walk home with me instead of taking the bus, I buy them small snacks or whatever to give them some sibling time and to spoil them a little. Dad was never into that. My father's wife is concerned that I continue to do these things for my siblings, but do nothing for her children. I don't even talk to them unless they speak to me first. She's asked me to pick them up or feed them lunch once or twice, and I've declined. Since returning to school, I've been asked to help all of the kids with their homework, not just my siblings, despite the fact that they do it in different rooms. My siblings are in my room, and the new wife's children are in the kitchen. But the most contentious was when I walked my siblings home from school and bought them ice cream along the way. I didn't get anything for the other kids, and I didn't try to take them with me. I only took my siblings. So my father and his wife sat me down a few days ago and told me I should treat all the kids equally and be willing to help them all. I said no. I said I wouldn't. She argued that this would be a good way to strengthen family ties. I informed her that there is no family connection and never will be. She and her children are not my family, just as he is not Dad. I told her that the only family I have in their home are my siblings, and they would not change my mind. She asked if I would go to therapy with them and give it a try. I said no. Dad was already doing other things at that point. She said we could make it work, and her kids would be thrilled to have me as a big brother. And doing some stuff every now and then could be beneficial. She didn't like it when I said no, telling me that I'm old enough to know better. Am I a jerk? Maybe the comments can confirm this, but I believe most people have heard similar stories in which a new parent enters the picture with their slew of children, and they simply assume their new partner's older child will immediately take on the mantle of being the shiny, new, big sibling part-time babysitter that the family so desperately needs. And it's not all black and white. It's similar to parents who come in and assert, I'm a new dad, I'm a new mother. You try to force it like that, it's almost certainly never going to work. Random Walker commented, judging, not that jerk. You already go above and beyond for your biological siblings. You owe that to no one. It's your decision. Stepmother's desire for a closer relationship may or may not be genuine. It's difficult to tell from just a few paragraphs, but it appears that her primary interest is in your assistance. Our next story is whether I'm a jerk for refusing to change my daughter's name or giving my half-sister daughter the stuffy for my grandmother. Sorry if the title was a little confusing. Here's the situation, complete with background information. A 26-year-old female was only 3 or 4 years old when my father married my stepmother. There was no mother in my life and no family for my father. My stepmother and the majority of her family did not accept me as theirs. However, to be completely honest, neither did my father. He always treated me as a burden, as if I chose to make his life more difficult by being born. My grandmother, my stepmother's mother, was the one exception. She embraced and loved me as her granddaughter, even among her biological grandchildren. I was always on par with her, and when my half-sister was born, some accused her of favoring me over the real grandchildren. This caused a lot of problems because she refused to treat me any less. Even after that, my half-sister despised it when we were growing up because her parents made such a fuss about it. She was always envious, even though Grandma loved and treated her well. I believe everyone assumed that if I became a grandchild, she would love the real ones less. I know Grandma is fond of the entire family, despite their disregard for me. She even confronted my father for acting as if I had a choice in being born. But he didn't care. Nobody did. Nobody changed their behavior toward me, and my half-sister and grandmother became estranged from my half-sister, who had entered her teens, because my half-sister became so demanding that Grandma ignored me. She insulted Grandma for allowing me to play with her grandmother's childhood stuffy while never allowing anyone else to do so. She instructed Grandma to leave me out of the will. She informed Grandma that I was not a legitimate member of the family. Grandma was disappointed in her for being so brattish about it, so she saw her less, which irritated my father and stepmother. When Grandma became ill, she publicly announced that she was giving me her childhood stuffy as a gift, and that she wanted me to keep it for my future children as a reminder of her. It irritated everyone, but she did it before her death. After I mentioned wanting to name a future child after her, Grandma said she would be honored. She also encouraged me to leave our so-called family without shame, which I did after she died. That happened 3 years ago. I gave birth to my daughter a few weeks ago after announcing her birth and name via social media. My half-sister, now a 20-year-old female, contacted me via various platforms and an old phone number to curse me out and tell me I stole the name from her, that she is expecting in a few weeks, and that she plans to name her daughter after Grandma Dot. And how dare I use the name for someone who isn't in my family? She called me a variety of names. I hung up on her instead of listening, but then more contact came in via various platforms, and blocking appeared to be avoided on some of them. I was also told that I should be giving her the stuff for her daughter, and that I'm a freaking crackhead for not doing so. Am I a jerk? I'm hoping that most people in the comments will agree with me when I say that the OP is not a jerk, and that naming your child after someone who is so influential and such a big part of your life, especially with their direct blessing, is not a bad idea. I hope he didn't steal it from someone, right? The man who commented was judgmental. Not that jerk. This is clear. Your grandmother accepted you into her heart, and what she gave you is a gift from your true family. She said she'd be honored if you gave your daughter her name. Quoting, "She also encouraged me to leave our so-called family without shame." Your grandmother's advice was most likely intended to protect you from manipulation and control. Stay loyal to her and take her advice. Accept her love and gifts with no shame. Don't let anyone taint it or steal anything from you. But with that said, that is all the time we have today. Now, if you want to hear another insane Am I the Jerk Here story, watch the video on the left.